Hi everyone, it's me Terry of the Yarn Joy podcast. Welcome back to another video. Well, in this video we are going to be doing a crochet along, and for this crochet along we are going to do the crochet corner technique. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to create a project, or lapgan in my case, where you are going to make corner squares, but you're going to do a join as you go method as you're making the squares. For this crochet along, I can let you know what yarns I'm using. You can use either 3-weight or 4-weight yarns. Just note that the 4-weight yarn is going to turn out to be a larger project than using the 3-weight yarn. But what I'm going to be using, because I love to use color changing yarn for this project, so I'm going to be using some Lion Brand mandala cakes, and this is a 3-weight yarn. This is the basic 590 yard cakes. Okay, and if you use this particular yarn, 590 yard, that size, then you will need 4 of them. You won't use all 4 unless you're going to make, unless you want to make a larger project than just a lapgan, then you may, need more than that. But for the project that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be needing 4 of them, but I won't be using all 4 of them. I need to use more than 3 of them. So that's why you need 4. Okay, so I'm actually going to do 2 projects using the mandala cakes, the basic size, the 590 yard one. I'm also going to be making a second project. I can't reach the yarn over there, but it's the larger cakes of the mandala called the bonus bundle. Let me reach one, hang on. This one right here, it is larger. It is called a mandala bonus bundle, also by Lion Brand. And this one has 300 grams and 1,181 yards, okay? And this bonus bundle is like 2 of these, the standard cake ones that have 590 yards, okay? But I decided for the crochet along, the part I'm going to be filming, that I would use the more colorful selection, just because I think it would be easier to film or easier to see on the film. And also, I'm making the squares smaller because these cakes have a shorter color run than the bonus bundle. This one I have to make my squares a lot bigger, and I will let you know, just for information's sake, how big I made the square for this one. But this is the one I'm going to be using for the tutorial, okay? The colorway I'm using is, I have 2 cakes of this Lion Brand mandala in the colorway Thunderbird, okay? I have 2 of these only, but then I also have 2 cakes of the Lion Brand mandala color in the colorway Gnome. And so they have very similar colors, and so I'm going to be alternating. Like, I'm starting with the Thunderbird. When I finished this cake, then I will be adding the Gnome cake, and then when I finish that one, I'll go back to the Thunderbird and then finish off with the whatever I need for the Gnome, okay? Anyway, that's what I'm going to be using for mine. I'm going to be using a 5mm, it's upside down, 5mm, I don't know if you can see, it says 5mm, yeah, crochet hook. That's a size H in the American letter version of the hooks, okay? And so let's get started, and I will show you what I have done so far. Now, I do assume that in this crochet along that you are, before doing the crochet along, you already know how to do the corner to corner stitch. If you do not, then you can look at I have a couple of tutorials linked below in the description box, one for right-handed and the other for left-handed crocheters, that will teach you the basic corner to corner technique. And so take a look at one of those videos and learn that technique, and that would and then you can come back to this one and you can continue on with this crochet along. Okay, so what I have gotten so far is I started my corner and I kept measuring it. So this is going to be this particular is going to be a square. And so that means this side and then this side are the two finished edges, and they are going to be the sides of the square, okay? And so I like to use my tape measure, and I was measuring them. Of course, numbers are upside down. Sorry, I bumped the camera. Okay, so I kept measuring them, one of the straight sides, and my side now is measuring 9 inches. Okay, so that's how big I'm going to be making my square. When I reach that size, then I know that now I can start decreasing. Because my layout, I drew a chart right here. And so my layout for this blanket is going to be 4 squares wide and 5 squares up to make a rectangle. So if I'm going to be measuring it, and each one of these is 9 inches, then that means 9 times 4 of them. This will make this 36 inches wide, and that is about the size I'm aiming for. And then, of course, measuring up, it's going to be 9 inches each with my tension and my hook size, and it's going to end up being 9 times 5, which is 45 inches. So that's going to be a good lap blanket size, I think. If you look at the corner to corner, each of these will zoom up here. Okay, pull that up. Okay, so each of these are made out of blocks. When you're looking at a chart, each one of them is a square. Okay, each of those squares right here is a block on your work, and a block consists of 3 double crochets when you're doing the standard corner to corner technique. Okay, so each one of these, each 3 double crochets makes a little block, and if you count them, then you know that will give you the size of the square. Okay, and if you can't see where the squares are, you can pull your work apart a little bit, see, and then you can see those squares, right? Okay, and so with me, for the blocks that I'm doing, I counted all the way across. Okay, so let me stretch that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So my square is going to be, and if I count up this way, that edge, that is also going to be 14 squares, okay? So my squares are going to be 14 squares by 14 squares. That's what this is right now, and it is 9 inches. I measured it, so that would give me 36 inches across with the 4 squares. That's the size I'm aiming for. And so now I'm going to start, let me zoom you out. I'm going to start decreasing on this side and this side because I'm finished growing my square. So now I just want to fill in this triangle part, to complete my square. And so that's what I'm going to be doing next. Just doing the basic corner to corner stitch. So I'm doing this decrease where I slip stitch across. I'm doing it on both ends so that way I can close up that square. I will let you go ahead and finish your square, and then I'll meet you up again. If you're using the bonus bundle, this one right here, okay, this one makes larger color runs, and so for that project, I'm going to do 3 squares by 3 squares, because each one of my squares, I did 22 squares by 22, okay, on my square. I can show you my square here. It's a larger square. Probably can't even get it all in the camera. Got to zoom out. There you go. Okay, see, it's a very large, it's a larger square, and it's 14 squares by 14 squares of those little 3 double crochet groups, okay? And so that one, it measures for me, it measures 12 inches across by 12 inches by 12 inches. And so for that one, I'm only going to do 3 squares by 3 squares because that was going to give me 36 squares by 36 squares. But in this tutorial project, I'm going to go ahead and do the smaller squares. Okay, so that's kind of how that chart goes. Okay, so let me go ahead, and now if you want your squares to be bigger, then just keep increasing it where and making more of these squares the width of it, you know, keep increasing each side until you get the square measurement on, you know, these two straight sides, if you get that, the width where you want it, okay, if you want to make a bigger blanket. Okay, so let me go ahead. I'm going to finish my square, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the chart, and then we will also start the join as you go process. Okay, so I am on the last row to complete my square. As you can see, it's got some nice color changing going on. And so I'm on my last row. All I have to do is fill in that little corner right there with my last square. So let me flip it back over. So I just connected it to the top, and then I chained 1, and I'm going to turn my work, and then I'm going to slip stitch across this block so then I can get into this corner to make my last square. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Slip stitch across. Okay, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to do my block just like the regular corner to corner. So double crochet 1, 2, and 3 times. Okay, and then the last thing I got to do to complete that square is just to join it to this one. Okay, so I'm going to go in there, join it with a slip stitch. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I've completed my square, but I need to start in this corner up here. And so what I'm going to do is just like I did a regular, like I've been doing the decreases, I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, okay, and then I'm going to just slip stitch across those stitches of that last square I just made. So slip stitch in each of the double crochets across, and that will get me into the very corner of my square. Okay, so there is my square, and as you can see, my square was working. You can see where the color changing was. So this is the angle that I was working. I worked from this corner is where I started, and then I just worked diagonally this direction, okay, and then that's where my color changes went right after I started decreasing, look like. And then I ended up into this corner, okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare to make my next square doing the join as you go method. Okay, so my hook is now in the very corner of that square, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an increase, and I'm going to do it just like I did the increase before, where you chain 6 and then you work a square into the 3rd chain from the hook, you know, like a regular increase. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, and then you're going to do a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, or the 3rd chain of that 6 that you just made, okay. Do a double crochet, okay, and then you're going to do a double crochet into the next chain, which was the 2nd chain of the chain 6 that you made, and then 1 more double crochet into the 1st chain of that chain 6, okay. So there's your new square kind of hanging out there. Okay, so now you're going to attach it. Well, if you look at our chart here, okay, so this is the let me get this back here. This is the square that I just completed, this one right here. And so what I'm going to do is, let me go ahead and turn my work so then you can see it in the proper position. So I just made that square, and so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my work, and I'm going to attach it to this space right here. Okay, so I just flip my work over, okay, and then as you can see, this is where we're going to attach it. Okay, and let's look at the stitches now. So the stitches are going this way. You can see where the color change is. So in this first square, let me bring this back. So in this first square, my stitches are going this way. Okay, I'll go ahead and draw the line so you can see the direction, the angle. Okay, and so right now we are right there at that point. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to work in columns where we are creating our squares. So I'm going to go up this way with each of my squares, okay, until I have 5 squares, and then we will turn the corner and then come down this way, okay. Okay, so we just finished this one. Now, since these stitches are going this direction, okay, that diagonal, then this square is going to end up going the opposite way. It's going to start with our first square here, and it's going to go this direction. Okay, so let me put that aside and let me look at our square again. So we just created our first one. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach it right here to this space in between those first 2 blocks, okay? So I'm going to turn my work a little bit, and I'm going to just attach it into that space just with a slip stitch, okay? Now, what we just did is we did that first square right there, okay? So the next row is going to have 2 squares, right? Just like a regular corner to corner, okay? So what we need to do is, and all these squares will end up lining up with each other. See, like this one, this square lined up with this one. It matched, right? So the next one is going to go next to this square and that square on top of there, because we're going to go diagonal this way, okay? So I attached it with the slip stitch. The first thing we're going to do now is we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, okay? Now we're going to go past, we're going to go at the top of this block where I've got my hook there, and I'm going to do a single slip stitch into there, okay? So that gets us into the space where we need to now make a square and go back this direction, okay? So now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn our work, okay? And now we're going to make our block around this chain 3 that we just created, to go up, to go into that space. We're going to do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, okay? And see how this block is now lined up with this one, okay? Now you're going to finish it just like you do a regular corner-to-corner stitch. So I'm going to slip stitch into the top of this block, and then I'm going to make a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then double crochet 3 into that turning chain. 1, 2, 3, just like your regular corner to corner, okay? Okay. Hopefully that wasn't too awkward, that showing. If you need to, pull out your work and go out to just, to start again at this corner and not rewind, but back up the video and follow me again if you need to. But I hope I was able to explain that, because it's just mainly, it's once you get started doing this and you kind of catch on to what you're doing, and it's really not that bad. Okay, so now we're at the top here. We're going to do like we are doing a increase just like a regular corner. So that means chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? And then we're going to double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, and then double crochet into the next chain down, double crochet into the bottom chain, okay? And then we're going to turn that, we made another block, we're going to turn our work, okay? And just like a regular corner to corner, let me do it this way, we're going to go up those steps. Oops, sorry, I'm not in the camera. We're going to go up those steps just like we do a regular corner to corner stitch, okay? So we're going to join to this square right there with a slip stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, okay, and then we're going to do a double crochet, 3 of them into that chain, that turning chain, or that chain 3 from below, okay, and then now we need to connect it just like it's a stair step. So now we need to connect it to the top of this next step, right there with the slip stitch. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, do 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, just like regular corner, okay, and then the next one is to join it right here, you know, because see how these squares are going to line up with each other? See how that one wants to line up with this one, okay, and see how this one, that makes a line of blocks. They all have, you know, they all line up together, okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hook into between this block, that yellow one, and the green one, and do a slip stitch to join it, okay. And there is our next row, okay. So now what we're going to do is we need to start at this level right here, so then we can go back down this direction, you know, and with our corner. And then so instead of increasing and chaining 6 when we're joining on this side, like we regularly do an increase, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, okay, and then we're going to connect it into that space between these 2 squares, okay, with the slip stitch. Okay, and then we're going to chain 3 instead of chaining 6. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn our work, and then we're going to go up that edge just like we do a normal corner to corner. So 3 double crochets into that chain 3, 1, 2, 3, okay, join to this next one right there with a slip stitch, 1, and then double crochet, do it 3 times just like your regular corner to corner block, okay. Now we're going to join to the next one, chain 3, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, okay. Now we need to join to the top one, right, with the chain 3, and then we're going to do a block right on top of it because we're increasing, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, okay. So that we just completed another row, okay. And so when you're on what did you call that, an outer side, I guess, where you're not joining to a previous square, you do your increases just like normal, where you chain 6 and then you make your block, you know, and then you turn your work and then you go up your stair steps, right, to do the corner to corner. It's just when you are going to be joining to this edge over here that it's a little bit different. Okay, so let's go ahead and do another row together. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to chain 6, just a regular increase, 1, 2, 3. You can pinch that 3 because that's where you're going to be working your first stitch into, and then 4, 5, 6. So 6 chains, right? And then you double crochet into that chain that you pinched, which was the 4th chain from the hook, or the 3rd one that you made, okay? And then double crochet into the next one, next chain, and then double crochet into the next chain, okay? So you made your block. Now you got to turn your work, and then you find your stair steps, right? And then you're going to connect this block to this square with a slip stitch, okay. And then chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 double crochets. So now you're just going up the stair steps, oops, there's double crochet number 2 and then number 3, okay? And then slip stitch to the next, slip stitch to the next step. Oops, get in there. Okay, chain 3 and then double crochet 3 times into that chain 3 loop, or whatever you call it. And then now you're going to connect to the next step, which is a slip stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're at the top, so we have one more step we need to connect to, so slip stitch into that one. Okay, that will line up those 2 squares together. Okay, and then chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now we're going to join it to this square, right? We need to line it up with this one and join it. And where we're going to join it is right there between these 2 squares with a slip stitch, right? Okay, so now we are finished with that row, right? It's like we're making a pyramid. Okay, or a triangle, you know. Okay, so the next one is going to have to line up or start with this next block, the next block up, right? So what we need to do is chain 3 to get up there and slip stitch in between those 2 squares right there where I'm pointing the pencil, okay? So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, okay? And then slip stitch right there between these 2 squares up, you know, slip stitch, okay? And now we're going to turn our work this way, and what we're going to do is we're going to be going up the next stairs, you know, to this end. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, okay? Now I got to turn my work over, okay? So we're going to go up this way, right? So 3 double crochets. Now it's just regular corner to corner, the way you go up that side, okay? And then join to this one with a slip stitch, chain 3, 3 double crochets, okay, and then slip stitch into the next one, and then 3 chains, and then 3 double crochets. You're just working your way up, right? Okay, so you just go up like a regular corner to corner. Don't have to worry about this right now. Go back up, go up, and then you're going to increase a block by chaining 6, you know, do your regular increasing, and then you turn your work, and then you're going back down the other direction, okay? And so I'll go ahead and I'm going to finish this row, and then I'm going to turn my work, you know, do the increase and come back down, and I'll show you how to join once more, okay, to this side. Okay, so when I finished that row, I increased, and then I'm coming back down again, okay, for the next row of corner to corner, and as you can see, I'm right to this block that I need to join to, just like regular, so slip stitch into there to join it, okay? And then I'm going to do a block on top by doing a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 3 double crochets into that loop, 1, 2, 3, okay? And now it is time for me to join to my number 1 square, right? And the way I do that, we're going to line it up with this square right there, okay? That's its partner, you know, so you're going to line it up, and you're going to slip stitch right between these 2 blocks, that open spot right there. That's where you're going to slip stitch into there, okay? So that completes the row, and now you're wanting to do an increase, so then you can go back up and, you know, turn your work and then come back up this direction to do another increase row, right? So the way you do that is you chain 3, because you want to get into this space right here, okay, lined up with, you know, to line up with this square. So 1, 2, 3, okay, that gets you the height that you need, okay, because chain 3 is like a double crochet, and that's what we're doing in here, double crochets. So we're going to slip stitch in between those 2 squares right there, slip stitch, okay, and then we're going to chain 3 to start this next space. I like to chain 3 before I turn. You can go ahead and turn your work and then chain 3 if you want to, but I always prefer to do, if I'm going to have a chain at the end of a row, I want to do the chain first and then turn it. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to turn my work so I can see my stair steps here. Okay, and so I'm going to create a block right here, and it's going to meet this one. Okay, so chain, do 3 double crochets because we already did the chain 3. Okay, and then here's our stair step, so it's going to connect to this one by doing a slip stitch. Okay, there you go, chain 3. And see, now you're working your way back up this side. Okay, so a little hint of how you can keep track of where your squares are starting and where you're stopping, okay? Well, right now I can see that this is the edge of the first square. So if I go ahead, you can use stitch markers if you want. That might be helpful for you. So I'm going to go across and follow this line all the way across. And then I'm going to put a stitch marker right here, because that is the start of our second square. Because see, it was the same color right here, and so you may get confused, especially if you don't have a color change right in the corner. If you still in the same color, you may get confused as to where the square starts. Also you can just count your squares, because we know that what I was doing for here is I did 14 squares by 14 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, that is this one right here is the 14th square for square number 1, okay? And so to count this one, to know how high we're going up, is this one is our first square. So 1, 2, 3, yeah, because this is the end. So 1, 2, there, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7. So we're halfway through the second square. Okay. So you'll have and this is 14 across here, of course. And so right now we've done 7. When we finish this row, we're going to do an increase at the top. And that's going to make square number 8, right? So we're going to keep doing this and go in the same direction until we meet and join up on this corner, okay? And also we will have 14 squares from our marker, up, and that will be the end of our second square on our chart, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and finish this square when I get to the end where I'm going to be the corner over here, okay? I will then meet back up with you, and then that's when we meet that corner, we're going to have half of our square done, and so then like a triangle, and so then we will have to do the decreases to finish this second square, right? So let me go ahead and I will keep doing what I'm doing. If you need to rewind it to look at the joins again, go ahead and do that, and I will meet up with you at this corner, and then I'll show you how we do the decreases. Okay, I've been working on my increasing and joining to one side, increasing on the other end, and right now here's my marker where it showed where the end of my first square was. And so when I count the blocks up on this side, I have 13 so far, okay? With the completion of this row, I have 13, okay? So that means I need to go ahead and join this here, and then go up and go one more row across, and that will give me my 14 squares. It'll be the same size as my first square, okay? So I'm at the top of this row, as you can see. Let me go ahead and zoom you up a little bit. Okay, so I'm at the top of this row. And so what I'm going to do is, just like I've been doing, I'm going to slip stitch between those two blocks. Just like that, okay? And then now I need to get my block up to this. Okay, so I just finished my second square. I connected the top, the very last square up to the top of the row. So now I want to start just like I did with at the end of the first square. I want to go ahead and chain one, turn my work, and then I'm going to slip stitch across that square that we just made, so that way our yarn, our working yarn, will be right in the corner, the very corner of this second square. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm just slip stitching across those stitches to get my hook into the very corner. Okay, so now I have two squares. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at my chart. Look at the chart here. Okay, see, I have the lines drawn as far as what direction that the stitches were going. I'm going to pull out this so I don't lose a stitch. Okay, so I will take my yarn, because my project, because this is a double-sided project, doesn't matter which side you're doing it on. And so I want to line up the stitches with how it was going, and it's real easy if you have your color changes. You can see what direction the stitches were going. So I can see that my stitches were going this way for that first stitch, and so I want to turn my square over to look at it. Okay, so now it is going, I started down here, okay, in that corner. That's where my tail is, my beginning tail. Okay, and so my stitches, let me do it side by side. So my stitches are going this way diagonally, see? And then when I right at the end, I changed the yarn changed colors to the yellow. See that? And then this is where we started the second row, and then the second square. And you can see how the yellow is continued. Okay, and so for the second square, we went this way with our stitches. See, that is like opposite direction from what this one is doing. So now we ended up into this corner. That's where it turned, for me, it turned orange. Let me get this out of the way. So I am now up at this corner, okay, right here. So that means this square is, the stitches are going to go this direction. You know, you do it, you alternate, you know. Here we went this way, this one is going to go this way, and then this one is going to do the same thing as the first square did. Is the stitches are going to this way, the rows, you know, and we'll end up at the end, we'll end up there in that corner. Okay, and then this next the next square, the stitches will go this way. See that? And then the very last one, because I'm doing 5, I'll end up here, and then I'll start the last square, and it'll be going this way, the rows. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so we finished our first 2 rows. Squares, sorry. And now we're going to start here at this corner, and we're going to start going this way with our stitching rows. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull this back, and not pull it back, but pull it down, put my hook back into the corner there where we started, because we slip stitched into that corner. And now we're going to do an increase just like we do all the other increases. Move that out of the way. Okay, so we're going to chain 6, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then we're going to double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, or the 3rd chain from the bottom, if you want to count from the bottom. And you're going to do a double crochet into that chain, and then you're going to do a double crochet into the next one, We're making the very first block, right? Okay. So there's our block, okay? And now we're going to, after we made our block, we're going to turn our work, okay? And now I'm going to attach this block this way. I'm going to attach it right there between those first two squares, okay, with a slip stitch. You just go between those first two squares, do a slip stitch, okay. And so now we're ready to start working this direction, right? Because you can see how this one's going this way, okay. Looks like candy corn. Okay, so I'm going to turn my pivot my square here. Now I'm going to do just like we did for the join as you go process. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, okay, and then I'm going to slip stitch into between these two squares, okay, slip stitch, okay, and then I'm going to chain 3 to start that square, chain 3, turn my work, and then do 3 double crochets, sorry, into there, just like the regular corner to corner, okay, and then I'm going to attach it to this square with a slip stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, do 3 double crochets, okay. Now you are beginning your third square. See that? So now with our third square, we have the first row, which is that 1 square, and then the next one has 2, right? And the next one has 3, so it's the diagonal lines, right? So I'm going to take my stitch marker, and if you have lots of stitch markers, you don't have to keep moving it. You can just put, it may be helpful to put stitch markers, you know, like at the beginnings of each, to kind of designate where the squares are. That helps, especially when we have like another panel that we're connected to. Okay, so this is the first block of the third square. So I'm going to put my stitch marker between the last block of this square number 2 and the first block that we just made for square number 3, so that way I can start counting. So that's 1, 2, right? We just have 2 right now, but I'll keep doing this, connecting on this side and increasing this way until I have 14, just like I did square number 2, okay? So let's go ahead and do one more row, and I will show you the connect one more time, and then I will let you finish up the panel on your own. Okay, so chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's for our increases on the edge where we're not joining as you go, right? So I'm gonna double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook, and then double crochet into the next chain, and then double crochet into the next one. Okay, there's the first block of that row, right? So now we're going to turn our work to find our little stairs. Okay, so see, there's our stairs. And we're going to connect this one we just made to its buddy right there, right? With a slip stitch. And then we're going to work our way up the stairs with the corner to corner technique. 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, okay. Join it to the next one right there with the slip stitch. 1, 2, 3 chains, and then 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, okay. And now we are up against this square, so that means we got to do the join as you go, right? So I'm going to take my hook, I'm going to insert it between this square and this one right there to connect it, slip stitch, okay. And now I got to get my hook up to this next, between the next 2, right? So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then go ahead and connect it between those the next 2 squares with a slip stitch, Okay, and now I'm going to start going back down, right? So I'm going to chain 3 and then turn my work. So 1, 2, 3, turn my work. Okay, find the stairs and then 3 double crochets to make the first step of the stairs, right? Okay, and then you're going to connect it to this one, right? And then when you get all the way up to the top, then you will have 1, 2, 3, and then 4. You'll have 4 squares on this side, okay? So you just continue doing that. If you need to, go back up the videos for when I started square number 2, then you can see, if you need some more help on the join as you go, you can watch that portion again, but it's going to be exactly the same. And then once you get up to the 14 squares, which is this, or whatever, however many squares you're doing for your squares, if you're using that bonus bundle and you're making the big squares of 22 squares by 22, then of course you just keep going, until you get to that amount of squares that you need for the side. And then once you do that, you will also have gotten to this edge, okay? And then you'll just have that looks like a triangle, and then you will do the decreasing just like the regular corner to corner decreasing of the square, right? And then that will be time for you to start the next square. Okay, so I'm going to let you go ahead and work on this panel. You do it the same way, and I'm going to work on mine. And when we meet up again next week for part 2 of this crochet along, or lesson 2, whatever, I will have my 5 square strip for my blanket. And then we will turn our work, and then we'll work down and work on the second column, okay? Or panel, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, I hope I didn't thoroughly confuse you. Really, once you get it and your hands on doing it, you can kind of see, how it's going to go. If you're familiar with corner to corner and you don't have any issues with corner to corner technique. If you just need practice with that corner to corner technique, refer back to my tutorials I have in the description box, which is just the basic corner to corner, okay? Let's see if that helps. Okay, my blanket is shifting here that I'm using as my backdrop. Okay, I'm going to go and finish up my panel, and you work on yours, get your first square done, and just keep going if you haven't done that yet, and then start building your panel until you get, if you're going to do 4 squares by 5 squares, you just do it until you get to the 5 squares, connected. It's in that strip right here. Okay, I'm going to go. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.